This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
Well, let's open up. I'm here with Jessica Trinidad.
Nice. Thank you.
And no, thank you for coming. Thank you for reaching out. I know that you and I had a Zoom call and we were talking about, because we're 5 days out for election time, right?
Yes.
Right? 5 days?
Six, yeah. I think.
6,
5,
because it's the 31st today. It's Halloween today. That's why I'm dressed the way I'm dressed, by the way.
Love it.
I don't usually dress like this. But we're going to talk about a nonprofit that you started.
Yes.
But it has to do with elections. So that's why we wanted to, rush this episode a little bit to give a little bit of information. Your website and your nonprofit is going to leave after the elections, but your organization is called Emprender.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me more about it?
Yes. So the organization, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me in such short notice. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. It's something that was it started as to fulfill a need like many nonprofit organizations start. And it started in my involvement with working with the Latino community. Mm-hmm. I realized that there is a need for us to learn a little bit more about how the government branches work in the United States. Kind of think about it as the civic classes that you get in high school that not everybody gets to have. That's a huge need in our community, and it's an immense piece of information that we need, to be able to participate in democracy as it's built here in the United States. So it started as an idea to provide those resources for the Latino community, for the first-time generation Americans, and then also information for their parents to encourage, the younger generation to participate and be active and make a difference.
And make a difference.
Yes.
So I know that in 2018, you, with other community leaders, organized a forum, right? The Latino Forum.
Yes. 2019, leading up to the 2020 election, I had the privilege to work with LULAC, who put together the first presidential forum for Latinos. Mm-hmm. And we put it together. It was here at the Hy-Vee Hall. It was huge.
Yeah, I remember that. Felt pretty historic.
Yes, it was awesome. And it was meant to bring the candidates, which is something that, it's not usually we were exposed to as a Latino community.
Right.
I didn't know what a presidential forum was until I got involved in putting it together. So the idea was to, present the candidates that were running for the presidency at that time. Everybody, it's nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. Everybody was invited. Only, I believe, a few Democratic candidates ended up making it. But throughout that process, we learned that a lot of times, or historically, we don't get involved until the age of 35 and up in local elections.
You say that on our Zoom call. So is that like just in the Latino community, or that's just
overall?
Straight up overall?
Yes, and these are 2019 stats.
Yes.
So we don't start looking into local elections, and I'm talking electing, U.S. representatives, state representatives, which are the people that are writing and introducing laws that eventually get passed to the president to sign into law. And so that was kind of an eye-opening thing for me because, that was the first time that I've learned about it, that we don't get involved that late into our, to me,
life, yes.
In our life. And the thought behind it or the research behind it is because that's when we kind of start, getting into a little bit more mature. Not that younger kids are not mature, yes. If you pull everybody together, that's kind of when we start realizing that it's affecting us directly. A big example that I always give people when I talk about this is think about like for example, certain town parts of town where you're driving and it's very noticeable that the potholes are not fixed after the snow, right? But some are. So obviously, the leadership in some parts of town take care of it, but some other parts of town don't. And so we get to elect those individuals that have the leadership positions that fix the potholes, that could potentially, ruin your car when you're driving
Damage
through,
your car, right?
hustling to go to work,
Right.
and boom, there goes whatever out in your car. And for some people, it might take you an entire week's paycheck to fix. So that's kind of how people, start realizing, okay, wait a minute, why is my town looking like this, and the next town over is fixed.
Yes.
And so I think that's the reason why people, start kind of realizing, okay, this is affecting me. I should get involved. So that's the idea, to encourage, give that information to people to really start thinking, okay, maybe I should pay attention more of what's happening at a local level. Voting. Elections happen in cycles. We only see in big media, typically, right now, the presidential election, because it's big and, it's the face of the country. But election cycles happen every year. We have our mayor race, so it's important to stay educated and to know, what's happening around, to be able to participate in those elections. I went out and voted Tuesday, and in the ballot there were judges that were up for re-election. And so those are people that, and for some I had to look them up before I made the decision. And so those are the things that you have to be prepared for, to know that you're not just going to vote for the president in this election. You're going to be voting for judges. And, why is that important? These are people that are making life-altering decisions that will affect you, affect me, affect our children, everybody.
Everyone.
So that's kind of in a nutshell why this organization was created, to provide all of the information so that you can make an educated decision when it comes to voting. So like you just said that you had to vote for judges on this president, or it was on the ballot for a presidential election. And you yourself just said that you had to, do your research. Right.
How do we make this, how is Emprender, or how are you trying to make this more accessible for especially for our people? Yeah.
So we are a baby organization. We just started. We launched with the information for the elections, because it's, we're literally, it's a huge topic. It's important that we know that. But we are going to be providing throughout the year, leading up to every cycle, educational material, whether it's online, whether we do workshops within the community, to start exposing the community to what's happening, to what's coming, how the entire process works, how the voting process works, and what positions are going to be coming up in the next election cycle. Okay. So that when you get to voting time next November, okay, it's important that I go vote, because mayor is going to be, reelected in my town, and I really want to see if I feel that I want to vote for the person that's going to be running, or maybe somebody new. You get to make that decision based on the information that is provided to you. So our purpose is that we're nonpartisan. The idea is not to sway you to vote either way. The idea is to give you the tools so that you can feel comfortable knowing that you made an educated decision based on your needs and what your values are. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Awesome. So it's going to be in English and Spanish.
Yes.
Right, because I went to check out the website, which we'll put in our show notes, but it's emprendehoy.org, and then it has the option to be put on Spanish.
Yes.
Just pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it's a pretty awesome, even though you just said it's a baby nonprofit, maybe it is, because running a nonprofit it's hard, and starting one is tough, but it looks pretty good. It has a lot of awesome information. I know that you're also going to use that, organization as like information for our Latino community.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So the idea is to have more resources of things that impact our community when it comes to finding other resources. For example, there's a huge need for our community to find representation, legal representation. Mm-hmm. So we are finalizing a list of resources that we're going to provide to the community. And we're not just providing the resources to you, we're going to provide the resource and explain to you why that resource is provided to you and why it's important that you understand why that's provided to you and where you need to go for your needs. For example, and we see this a lot in our community, a lot of times we find people that need help with a transaction, a real estate transaction, right? And they need an attorney. But they're already at the default state where some things went bad.
Okay.
And so now they need legal representation to defend them on something that went bad. So the idea is to provide resources so that you can make an educated decision when you make a transaction, for example, in this example, a real estate transaction, so that you can take the steps to educate yourself and know, okay, this is how it works here. This is the process that I need to follow. I need to check to make sure that this person that I'm buying this property from doesn't have any liens against them, that the property doesn't have, 10 liens and I am going to be 11th and it's not going to work out for me, rather than having our community have to look for help when it's already way
too late.
Yes. So things of that nature. Education is the key. Awesome. Educating the community, giving the community the resources that for some other people, especially, English-speaking individuals or people who are, third, fourth generation in the United States, that, for you is like, duh, you got it, do this. But for us, it's not. Because, I think of, for example, myself and other people that I'm around that are, first-time generation Mexican-American or Latino Americans. We don't know how it works. We learned from our parents, and our parents came in fresh.
And they did not know.
Yes, and their focus was to keep us alive.
Yeah, that was their only focus.
Their focus was to keep us alive and to give us the opportunity, and so we have to relearn that, and sometimes we have to learn it the hard way, And so the idea is to give our people those resources, that education, because, education is power. It's the greatest asset.
Is power.
Education is power, and is the greatest asset you could ever have that nobody could ever take away from you. Stays right here with you, and if you pass it along, you're passing it along to other people, so it lives, in other people. So that's the idea, It's not just, the reason why we named it Emprende, which is, in English, is to embark on something.
To embark.
Some comments that were made is, is it a business?
Like emprendimiento.
Emprendimiento. And the reason why we chose that name is because, you want to embark in whatever you want to embark on, whether you want to embark in a business, whether, you decide what you want to embark on. And then so we're there to give you the tools to succeed.
I love that. It's like, this is a horrible example, but like Angie's List.
Yeah.
Because it is helpful.
Absolutely. Yes.
It is helpful. And I think why Angie's List comes to my mind is also because they only put things out there that they have tried, that it has been reviewed, right? And it has been approved, let's say, by some people, because within our Latino community, we do know that also our people get burnt out by other Latino lawyers or, realtors or all of the above as well. We cannot not talk about that because it's true.
Right. No, I remember 2011, I do a lot of translation for the community as my contribution to the community as much as I can. I wish I could do it all day, every day, but I can't.
You got to pay the bill somehow.
Yes. So when I do, I remember in 2011, I don't know, somewhere around that time, there was a group of attorneys that came into town from a big city, and they were offering at that time. They were offering visas for asylum for Latin American countries that didn't actually have asylum yet. So they were getting them to the process. They were paying our community were paying thousands of dollars for this legal representation. A lot of them were successful. They received their work permit, but now they were in the system when they weren't before. And then they were denied the asylum because their country wasn't recognized as a country that could have asylum. So they ended up, a lot of people ended up being deported. A lot of people made it through. So it was, it translated for some people in the aftermath of things. God. Excuse me. I haven't seen that for that particular, issue anymore. I think that was kind of we tried it and they came and, as we said in Los Angeles, they ran game and then they left. But so those things, so the idea is to have, okay, this is what you need to look for. This is where you can go look, at the state, at the bar association in your state to see if these are legitimate individuals that can practice law,
Right.
Because we've had that in our community, people that are, offering you legal advice and they don't have, they haven't passed the bar to be able to give you legal advice. So those are the things, is just giving our community the tools to understand how those processes work.
And even with all of those things that happen to our community just keeps on growing.
Yes. Which is a beautiful thing. I love it. Oh my gosh.
Same. I love this election time feels, obviously it's hunting, it's sad, and it's all kinds of feelings, but at the same time, the number of Latinos that get to vote, and the ones that we've been making, and that are gonna get to vote, it's kind of amazing to see. My husband just got to vote for his first presidential election ever, and he's 43.
That's awesome.
But he came to the United States when he was 9 years old from Guatemala, so he had never, got to vote, and he has his citizenship now. And this morning he got to vote.
Awesome.
And my 20-year-old is gonna get to vote.
Yeah.
Too. So it's exciting times, and that I think that's my hopeful phase of exciting about voting. But I do know that because I feel as the Latino community did a lot during the 2019 elections. Everybody was on fire for obvious reasons, but everybody was moving, everybody was learning, everybody was teaching.
Yes.
And I feel like we're in the right path.
Absolutely. Now I think back in the data and the research that we were doing for the presidential election, I think that this year a Gen Z is going to be a huge factor in the voting, especially Latinos is going to be one of the biggest, like you said, becoming of age is going to be their first election. I know my son's first election as well.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to just don't forget. those local positions.
So local elections are every year?
So there's cycles, yes. Every throughout the country, different cycles. Every November, it's a different cycle. Right now, we're in the presidential cycle, and then whatever's happening locally, and then next year there will be people coming up for mayor, because those or state, a state governor. So every year, there's local elections for different positions.
We're in Iowa. We are coming up into governor re-election.
I believe next year.
In November next year, I think.
I believe so, yes. Huh? Yeah, that happened. So last year, wasn't it? Yeah, it was last year she was elected, and that's it. Yeah. Is it 2 years? Is it every 2 years? I have to look it up.
You're going to have to look it up and let me know.
Let's look it up.
Look it up. I mean, I don't get to vote yet. I'm always just rolling people around.
Yes.
Translating or helping people also as well, that don't understand, or hey, who is this person? Can you tell me more about them? And I'm always telling them, or giving people rights if they need to the voting polls, but like I don't get to vote yet.
Yeah.
But also, look, I'm turning 36 this November, and also like I just, because of something with the kids, I was just like, oh, local elections too. So just only like a couple years ago is when like I started realizing how important local elections were. And I'm super involved in the community.
So
and I speak English, and you know I have all of these resources.
Yeah. So it wasn't until your mid 30s that you started realizing.
Yeah.
So it's and that's kind of how it was for me. It's when you start having, you know, things affect you, and you start seeing things, and you've seen, you know, things that happen that you're not comfortable with, you know, when it comes to, you know, government and things like that. And that's kind of when you start thinking, okay, that's it's for some it's affecting my pockets, for some it's affecting my values, you know.
Values.
Everybody has. So I looked it up, and I think she is, according to our friend Google, it's November 3rd, 2026.
2026.
So she would be in the following cycle.
The following cycle.
Yeah, and that's when we get to decide, you know, if we want to continue to have her represent the state or somebody else.
I was next excited to see who will run.
Yes, it's exciting.
So
those are the things that we're going to be updating. You know,
awesome.
Every
I love that.
You know, every cycle, given the information.
I'm excited to see where you take it. You know, always happy to see something that it's for, like, by our community, for our community. I love it that it's in English and Spanish. I hope your board, you know, I know it's hard to run a nonprofit. I hope your board stays excited and keeps pushing this through. And, you know, continue to see it grow. We will share all about it here and amplify it. And 6 days before election time. So thank you for coming again. And the website is emprendehoy.org.
Yes.
And we will, you know, share all about it. Whatever you need from us, I told you that. So
thank you.
We will use that information, and we'll send it to all of our community. And thank you for doing this for our community, Jessica, because I know it's definitely needed.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you and everybody in the team.
Thank you. I would love to have you back, but to talk about your actual job.
Yes,
because that would be so fun. I was looking at your website and I was like, what? I mean, I know what you did, but very fun. That would be very fun to do.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
See you later.
Okay.